testing this mic. Whoa, I already see some comments. Hello guys. Has it been a month? A month of kit building? Probably. I don't know. Time passes differently in COVID. Let me finish getting this set up on my phone. I was like checking my phone and then I didn't even realize that time is passing. So, okay, there we go. All right, let's get this switched over. Hey, how you guys doing today? All right, so I've already got stuff on here, kind of a minor mess, but that's because we're gonna get right into it. Also, let me refresh my Twitch on my phone because I'm seeing comments on my computer but not on here. Okay, that should be good. So hi, welcome back to another week of streams. We are continuing with Mero-chan yet again. However, this time we're switching up a little bit because we've got a variety of putty things we're gonna do. As you guys have been seeing, we are pretty much wrapping up here with all of the main puttying. So we've been using Tamiya light curing putty to fill in dozens and dozens of holes that I've noticed in the kit. And today we're gonna wrap up that. We don't have too much left. We really only have like these minor pieces left. So this should not take us the whole time for sure. So what we're gonna do after that is we're going to kind of look over each piece one by one, and if needed, probably not needed on all of them, but if needed, we're going to be using some Bondo glazing and spot putty. This is a putty that I use to fill in tiny scratches and notice defects, and I typically only use this when I notice a lot of bubbles in a cast, which is clearly the case here. So there's a few problematic areas I'm going to go over with just in case, you know, I missed any holes, and that will sand it down and show it. Sometimes it's surprising what we find, and sometimes we don't find anything. So it's just kind of up to how the cast is. And I would also like to do some miscellaneous kind of repairs. Mainly I wanted to see if I could repair the connection here. Let's get it smoothed up. So I wanted to see if I could epoxy putty these gaps and make them a little bit more geometric and straight so they don't kind of like curve, but we'll see if I get to that. I'm not sure if that's even really necessary because it's such a small area. I might just need to apply some more UV curing resin, but I brought out my 2-part epoxy just in case. So this is an actual 2-part putty that you use for filling gaps and other modifications and stuff. So it's mainly for modeling and sculpting and all sorts of stuff. So I use this when it starts to get really bad and I need to do some minor sculpting modification, but I don't know if that will be needed here, but I put it here regardless. So with that being said, let's just get started today. I've got my light curing putty as always, which we will be using. And it doesn't really matter which piece we start on, but I guess I'll start on this little one because there's a very small chunk you can see here. Oops, I just dropped it. So there's a really small chunk that I need to fill in. Kind of hard to see. There we go. So that's the chunk that I need to fill in with this putty. I don't think there are any other holes. But that's really the only thing that's on this. So we'll just be doing lots of tiny stuff like that today. I've also got this new Stream Beats guy playing because I looked over the VOD and we were not muted, so that's a good sign. I don't know how it will fare on YouTube, but as long as the audio isn't muted, that's pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much all we need on this one. Hello! Hi Black Fox, how are you doing tonight? Glad you could make it. We were just doing some minor chatting before we get started tonight, so got some more stuff on the agenda. Not just light curing putty this time. As much as I love this product, using it for 6 hours straight is enough to make anyone crazy, so just crazy the amount of repair this kit is needed. Is he doing all right? Got work in an hour? Yeah, no worries. Just thanks for stopping by, you know? Do you like, what time is it there for you? Do you work night shifts or are you on the other side of the world getting ready for work? Because we have a handful of people who got that going for them too. Because it's like evening where I am. West Coast PST. Oh wow. So it's like, yeah, not too far off there. So you work like an evening shift then. Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the East Coast, so similar, but I definitely know that PST lifestyle. Bummer. But get paid, right? Gotta make that money. Well, thanks regardless for chatting in and stopping in and chatting then. Yeah, Mr. Freaky, on the other hand, is using his insomnia or something. Glad you could stop by too, Mr. Freaky. A little bit more effort on your end, I think. Alright, so I don't want to oversand this again. I feel like I already kind of did, but mainly I just wanted to fill in this little chunk that's happening, which is already pretty good. I'm probably going to need to switch out my paper again, because we've been using the same slices of the sandpaper for a while. Okay, that's pretty good, I think. I don't see any immediate holes I need to fill in on it, and so really it's just supposed to, this is the wrong one, it's supposed to fit in like this, so, whoops, like that. So as you can see, we needed to fill that chunk in because it's very visible. But she has these cute little orange slices or something that go on the sides of her sleeves, so very cute. I might as well just leave that there, honestly. And so, oh, I didn't have to do the other one either because that one was already done. So, okay, next piece. Next up is a little hair piece. So this fits in like so, and there are a bunch of holes on this one right here. So we're gonna fill those in. And let's see, I have a question about painting. Do you have experience painting with latex-based paint? Not particularly. So I'm familiar with like plasticky pigment paint. So a lot of those cheapo craft acrylic paints typically have like plastic polymer in them, but latex specifically, not really. Is there a product that you're thinking of that you could post, or so I could see it so I'm familiar with what you're talking about? Because I might have dealt with it, but just completely blanking on it. I usually, these days, tend to stick with lacquer and enamel paint, so I don't typically deal with, you know, acrylic solvent paint, because we can get into paint specifics, you know, technically like lacquer solvent and acrylic paint pigments are a thing, you know, but I'm not going to dig into that right now. So, no. I'm just going to say no unless otherwise stated. Okay, there's one more hole here I think I missed. Okay, so let me hold this up. Okay, the big orange box store, okay, has a section of paints that sell for like 50 cents, and I found a really nice shade of red. Well, if you find a nice shade of red and it's 50 cents, I would buy it no matter what type it is, and then do the research later, because I can't turn out a good paint deal. Like, I'll figure out a way to use it no matter what. Certainly if it's paint, you know, there's ways to thin it and use it for things. Oh, you did buy it? Hey man, you know, you see a good deal, that's what it is. Like, I know people kind of shit on test stores, but I saw a sale for them once, and their jars are usually like kind of expensive, but they were like 50 cents or something ridiculously cheap, and so I picked them up even like despite that. And if I use them, I use them. If they just sit and gum up in their own little bottle, then that's fine too, but 50 cents, right? Yep. That's the modeler in you talking. Say, that's a good deal. I'll figure out a way to do it. Alright, let's get this sanded I keep dropping this paper because it's so small, and the grits on it are definitely fading out. This is one of my 400, but I'm not getting that kind of dig into it that I usually get with these papers, so it's probably about time to switch it. Yeah, that is very true, Mr. Freake. Yeah, you make a very good point there. Sometimes it is on sale for a reason, and then you're just like, okay, that was a fun thing, but no. Yeah. You always hope for the best, but then sometimes it just be like that, you know? I think out of those Tamiya or Test Stores bottles that I purchased, maybe like 4 work. And I didn't buy too many, but they're just so inconsistent. I bought a gold that was really nice actually, so I can't complain. Like, just for, it's so hard to find really nice golds. And so that one, and it's enamel too, so I can use it for details and stuff. I'm kind of a hoarder of gold, so I try to buy a bunch of golds because a lot of golds spray differently out of the bottle and they have slightly different color sheens to them. You can buy them with red tint or blue tint or green or anything, and so I like to keep a variety of them. But that one, the gold Test Stores in the enamel bottle, is a really nice standard gold. I'm gonna switch this paper. It's getting ridiculous. I have my big nubs here. Let's see what I got here. There's a lot of kind of gray ones here, my Tamiya ones that I haven't really touched. This looks like it's a 600 because it says 600, but yeah. And they don't make 1600, so that's fine. Wait, let's see. Bear brand is pretty well liked. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so when you get into like the home decor paints and the kind of like big bottles like that, where they're sold in like the cans, that I'm definitely not familiar with. Like, I have used them to paint my house, but I have no idea how those would act on a garage kit. So I think the reason that they're probably not quite as much used is just because there's so much paint. Like, when you're really thinking about it, like, we're dealing with jars like this, since I have this on my desk. Like, this is like 4 milliliters, maybe 10 milliliters. I don't know why it's not focusing. But it's a small amount, and then those are like in quarts, so probably like not the best cost savings there. But yeah, I know that the Bear brand paints those are like genuinely nice for home painting your walls, so I don't know why they wouldn't be good for anything else. But the problem too is like when you try to thin those, the polymers pigments will kind of like stretch out, and so I'm not sure how you would need to do that. And then let's see. Hello, Mittens. How are you doing today? As I'm catching up on comments, I'm just thinking about paint. Oh, there's another hole here too. You got a new chrome and silver to try? Ooh, what brand chrome? I'm always curious about that. Always looking for nice metallics, because it seems like, I don't know. I have a couple of them, but I'm just never, like, whenever I need the right one, it's not there. And then I usually have to go shopping for the right one, so. And I think it also depends on how like gloss you can get your coat, because you have to do all the funky gloss coat beforehand and stuff. Hello, Custard. How are you doing? Hope you are faring well tonight. And I see that Mittens has super glued hands to hands. Oh boy, to your hand. Hope you can get it off. Oh my goodness. Glue mistakes, never fun. I very much remember all of my glue mistakes. I still make glue mistakes all the time. Super glue though, that stuff dries so fast that it's very easy. Okay, I see the chrome link. Let's click that real quick. Sorry, that was not focused. I just decided to love my drill bit and pin vise. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have been linked this website before because their names are so funny, and then one of my friends wanted me to paint with the blackest black. So they have black, well now they have black 3.0, but they call it the blackest black. And so basically it's a complete black pigment. You can't see past it. devours all light. So you'll have to let me know how this one is. I'm curious about this brand of paints and how they fare. That spoon is looking very luscious, so that looks delicious. I always like it when they include spoon product photos because that means they're serious. They know what they're doing. I don't know if pouring lacquer on your hands is the best way to do this, but that is what it is. And hi Jen, how are you? Yes, yeah, Black Fox. So there's an interesting story behind this, and there's articles about it. And I don't want to like bastardize the story and get it all wrong. But in short, yeah, this line of products was made like as revenge. So it's like an artist's tale of revenge where he had some like product stolen by another guy. And so he made this and all these products in response. And then he basically says like, you cannot sell the products to this very specific man. Like they list the guy's name on the website. I'm pretty sure they do. I'll have to click it again. But yeah, it was just like, you cannot sell this to blah, blah, blah. I don't know where it is. It was so funny when I read it. Let's see. It's probably in the About Us too. Yeah, so if you read the About Us, and it just says like, this guy's arch nemesis Kapoor the color hoarder. Yeah, so they very specifically say you cannot sell to Kapoor because like he's the enemy. And it's the like pettiest fine arts drama I've ever read. There's a whole story behind it and it's really fascinating. So if you ever get a chance, I highly recommend. Yes, yeah. If you click the products, yeah, it will say, you know, are you this guy? And you have to click no, or else you won't have access to the product. So it's just, oh my god. When I read all of that, I could not stop laughing. It's just the funniest thing. It's very much like so funny. I don't know. It's something about like having this whole successful website and then being so petty at the same time. It's just really funny. Yes, yeah, that's the article I read, Jen. Yeah, oh my god, it's so good. Oh man. Yeah, oh my gosh, just reading this is so funny. And it's really fascinating too because just paint in general is such an interesting topic, and so there's a lot of science that goes behind it, right? And so I like how this article and just kind of the whole story behind it goes into the science of it as well, you know, like how many of the pigments absorb light and all of that. So it's just really fascinating from like a manufacturing standpoint too. But then on top of that, you know, to involve this drama in there is just, it's so funny. But yes, please let me know, Mr. Frike, how your adventures with it goes. I have very much been wanting to try the Blackest Black, but I don't really have anything that I would use it on, and there's not really, it's just not something, like I barely even paint with black, so I wouldn't really be using it, but I'm sure there's other products on there that I could try someday. Too many things to buy. Alright, continuing this tiny little bow here, there was a hole I saw at the end, so. Looks pretty good though. I think I remember hearing the best application for 3.0 is brushing. Yeah, that would make sense. I'm not sure how this paint is supposed to be applied either, or like what you even thin it with. I didn't delve into it too far. But the final application of it looks so nice. Like the pigment goes on so smooth. So I have also seen like some people use it for their Gundam models and stuff. So it just kind of depends your purpose for it. All right, I think this one is good too. So I will just stick this in her head like that. There's a gap here because she has that little hairband thing that goes around it, but we're not using that right now. So next piece. So yeah, I picked this up. Next we're gonna work on this tiny bird. As you can see, she's got some holes. The bird, has some holes in its tail that go all the way through. So we'll have to fill that in. There's a couple along the back, and I think that's it. Luckily there weren't really any on the front. This piece is really small. For context, here is like a standard Q-tip. So that's about how big the bird is. But it's fully sculpted. And it has little eyes as well, so that's pretty sweet. I like that bird a lot. One of the things that like attracted me to this kit is the little accessory birds. So, one bird. All right, so we're just gonna push that putty all the way through. And I'm just gonna smear it. I'll probably go over both sides too, just to make sure that we fill in the whole thing. Okay, there we go. And let's fill in the top ones too. This is one of those pieces I probably should have put on an alligator clip because the threat of dropping it is very real. I don't have them though, but I do have some tweezers. Let's see, maybe that will work. Yep, there we go. The beauty of magnets, you can just stick the piece on there. Actually probably wasn't even needed because it's already beginning to dry. So we'll see how that goes. I didn't really push the putty into those holes on its back, so. And then after that, we've got these two pieces. So it's mostly frills left after the bird. Two of the frills are the ones that fit inside of her little sleeves. And then these ones, I don't think I even really showed these that much, but these are sleeves that fit on like the top of her dress. So they're along her shoulders and they fit in, oops, kind of like that on either side. There's no pinning or anything that I did with them. These are just gonna be glued. So they just kind of like, they slot in. There's some, like here, there's some slots that they fit in. So that will be very much like a final thing that we'll do. All right, so let's get this little bird sanded. I'm just amazed that holes showed up even on these really small ones. Okay. Oh yeah, I was getting some new 400 too. Although I think I'll use this instead. So this is that 600 grit. It's got some like weird oil or something on it, but that's fine. It's probably old glue, dust stuff. All right. $600's probably a better bet here anyway, because this piece is so small and I want to get it sanded down as quickly as possible without scratching it. Okay, I see a question. What's your spray booth setup if I have one? I do have a spray booth setup. I don't have like a very specific model, like expensive model, but I literally Google like airbrush booth on Amazon and it's one of the very first ones that shows up. It's got like a small opening and some like blue foamy stuff on the back. Let me try to find it real quick. It's like $100, so it's not a high-end one by any means. Mostly because I purchased this when I first started, or kind of not when I first started, but going into it, and I haven't upgraded since then. And this one has just been working. So let's see. Spray booth. Yeah, so it's, oh wow, it looks like the price for it went up too. So I don't know if this is like the specific one that I used, but that's very similar to what I use. I have seen some people custom build their own ones. All you really need is like, you know, a box and filtration and a way for it to go out. But custom built is definitely like, it will help you out if you need to build to specific requirements or something, or you know, if you want some more, a quieter filter, etc. As Curry has said, the fan on mine is super loud, to a point where when we're spraying primer and doing things on stream, I actually have to mute myself. So that's one of the downsides of this spray booth, is that it's so loud, like it will, you know, take up a lot of room. It sounds like a pretty noisy vacuum cleaner. So if you want something quieter, I recommend doing a custom setup. And I saw your comment, Mr. Freake. I have used color shift paints. I do own a couple of them. Do you have a specific question in mind about them? And Mittens has the right idea here, seems, because yeah, the fan on this one is not like that strong either. So usually what I have is it's just like propped right up against a window, and I have the window fully open, and so it blows all the air out and filters it out. Which color shifts have I used? So I own mainly SMS custom shift or color shift paints. I feel like I'm putting this down a lot to product link you guys, but let's see, SMS color shift. So this is a brand made in Australia. I'm just gonna link their website because they have a ton of different color shift paints, a ton of different pearls and stuff. I really like them. They don't work perfectly in the climate that I'm in right now, so I feel like they're designed for an Australian climate, but the customer support is really good, and the guy is like really nice, and they're pre-thinned, so you don't have to do anything to them. I own a couple of them. Unfortunately, I can't like extend my arm, and my setup doesn't allow me to grab it. But they sell a bunch of pearls, they sell glow in the dark, they sell all sorts of stuff. I really like their paints a lot. Jen would know, right, being there. Yeah, they're really nice paints, and I had never purchased them before, but when I visited Australia, my friend uses them to paint her kits, and she's had actually a couple of my friends who live there in Australia use them to paint their kits, and they're really good quality. So do recommend that. I also have, oh man, I just turned it around. It was a turbo shift, I think. And that one also has some color shifting ones. It looks like, and it's an acrylic one. That's the difference there. What's your climate? They do have international stockists. Yeah, so I know that USA Gundam store sells SMS. Oops, they have like a license with them. So I have been able to purchase a couple clears and stuff from them, thankfully. And then what's my climate? Pretty humid, to be honest. And I don't know how SMS paints sit, but I've had some issues with the pigment size of them. Like either they clumped up over time or something, because they just won't spray out of my 0.3 millimeter nozzle. I almost always have to go up to a 0.5, even for the ones that aren't pearls or anything like that. And so they spray fine. It's just, you know, I had to go up a nozzle, which was a little surprising. Never heard of Zerk paints, so I'll have to check those ones out. Are those ones color shifting, or do they have like other basic opaque colors? Had issues with 0.3 on the metallic. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I figured that, like, usually when I spray metallics or pearls, I go up to 0.5 anyway. But I think on their bottle, they say that you can spray it through a 0.3. And so I was like really frustrated for a while. And at the time, actually, when I purchased them, I didn't have a 0.5 needle. Like, I had to very specifically buy a cheap airbrush so I could spray my SMS. And so that was like, okay. But now with that out of the way, it's fine. So if you use those, just be aware, you know, you gotta probably go up a needle size. Found a 3D model on Booth for a mermaid, and the color shift might be a nice touch. Oh yeah, for the scales, that would be pretty much perfect, I think. Yeah. I really like the concept of color shift, and so I tend to like purchase them, but I don't use them. Like, I haven't found the right one. I think they're really great for, you know, specific scenes like that, Little Mermaids, like, I was trying to say like bike exhaust pipes. You can get some really cool colors with that. Gundams, of course, you know, have awesome color shifting properties you can do to them. What else? I don't know. They're like cool bodysuits. So like you know, latex bodysuits and stuff. Those will all be really cool for it. So there's lots of ways you can use color shifts. It's just a matter of like finding the right application. And I noticed a lot of them tend to go like purple to orange or something like that. There's actually lots of them now. That's not the only color, but maybe it's because I keep buying purple orange ones. I might as well pick it up. Let me grab the ones that I have. I have a few of them. I'll have to reach over though. Let's see. Pull it out. I'll just pull one for now. So these are interesting products because they go really, they look like they don't do anything on white, but then when you spray, and they look kind of clear, right? So this is SMS Chameleon, so it's a color shift. And it goes from blue to purple. And so it looks red in this bottle, but when you apply it on a glossy black base, it very much is like a really dark, rich blue. And if you turn your spoon, it shifts into purple. So it's super cool. So don't use the like bottle color as an indication of what it's gonna look like, because these are very much meant to be applied on like a jet black base. So this is just an example of a color shifting paint and what it might look like, you know, inside of the bottle. They make all tons of them. So there's ones that go blue green, you know, there's yellow green, there's all sorts. And then yeah, Jen has kindly linked her Instagram, which looks like there's a lot of, oh yeah, clicking it. I already looked at your Instagram, but clicking on it, you can see there's some examples of color shifting as well here. I really like that little ghost with the feet. That one's really cute. But yeah, so they're fun. That's all I gotta say about those, I think. Kind of went off on a tangent. But yeah, do recommend SMS. If not for color shift, then for other stuff too. They've got some really nice pearls. They've got some glow in the dark. I own a glow in the dark one. They have a full line of clear paints. They've got all full line of opaque paints. And then again, the owner is really active in the modeling like scene. And he actively takes people's complaints and suggestions, and he makes new products all the time. So it's really cool to see someone who knows the game and knows how to make products listen to modelers and make some new stuff. So just really fun. All right, almost done with this piece. I've tried to be a little delicate with it here. I think we're good though. Yep, I think that's good. So really, really small, but you can see the areas we puttied in. So I'm gonna stick this right in the little bag, then we can move on. Let's see. Jen has linked another set of paints. That's a really cute icon, the little cat Gundam guy. Ooh, this one looks fun too. Oh, and then we get into the 2K and 3K and all the 4K and everything in between. I am not familiar with those lines of paints. SMS does sell some 2K stuff like the 2K clear. Just be aware if you're moving into that territory, they get significantly more toxic. And so I do not work with 2K products. I don't use polyurethane clears or anything like that on my figures, just because I don't have a proper setup for that. And if you think like lacquer is dangerous, like polyurethane sealers and that type of stuff, that's significantly more so. So that's basically like the next step up in terms of like durability and toxicity. So what you'll see sometimes is modelers, mostly in Japan at this point, painting their faces in lacquer and sealing with a polyurethane coat, and then it's like the same sort of thing with lacquer and enamel. Basically, like once you like put down the polyurethane coat, even if you spray lacquer, you can wipe off the lacquer and you're not going to destroy the polyurethane coat. So just got to make sure you have the proper safety precautions in place for that. The rest of us just use lacquer. And Mr. Frike, why you need to move? Well, I won't ask the specifics, but that sucks that you won't be able to work on your stuff. I hope that you have a safe move and keep us informed, you know, on how it's going. Hopefully it's for okay reasons and not bad reasons. All right, let's keep sanding. Moving on to these frills here, so. Got an email to say you have 2 months. Oh my gosh. Is it you're just being kicked out? Is it because of rent? Oh man. This is like the worst time too, honestly. I'm so sorry. I will definitely be building in your honor. Wow. Oh my god. I'm so sorry to hear that. That makes me so angry. What the fuck? Ugh, it's like you do everything right, you know, and then it's just seeing an opportunity, you know, that a landlord has or whatever, and they just gotta go. I guess the circumstances probably depend, you know, if they're selling the house or whatever, wherever. But even so, that is very unfortunate. At least they gave you 2 months. I don't know if that's the legal requirement or not, but here, like, people can just kind of give you a short time and then you have to get out if you haven't signed a contract and all that. Yeah, hopefully you can take this situation and then turn it in your favor and find a really nice place, you know? Alright, let's turn it. Whoa, okay. So this is definitely going to be a Bondo situation here. If not, well, maybe not. Maybe I'll just putty a couple. Sorry, I realize I'm looking at this up close and it's blurry. So there's a bunch of holes here, but you can also see these tiny nicks here. There's 2 of them. Right here and right here. So I'm gonna have to fill those in as well. So I'm just kind of gonna putty along. Oh, and I have to sand this side too. I'm gonna putty kind of along this. Trying to see if your budget stretches to a spare room for the models. Well, that would be a nice thing. I really kind of live in my hobby room, and I highly recommend it if you guys have the space to do so, because that way, you know, you don't have to make your room all toxic. You can, you know, spread out a little bit. There's no worry about anything, and you have a whole room where you're able to focus. I've built in all sorts of conditions, but by far, like, having my own hobby room is, you know, what keeps me going in terms of the productivity. And then you know where everything is, you know, so you don't lose any track of anything. There's no real pets to bother you, etc. Alright, I need another toothpick. The only worry I'm gonna have is carpet. Oh yeah, carpet can be problematic for multiple reasons. When I think of carpet, and I used to paint, you know, in a house with carpet, you drop a piece and it's gone into the void. So to make up for that, I put down those like clear plastic mats that are kind of like, you know, you're supposed to use them for a rolling desk chair, like in your computer area. But I set down a couple of those, so even if I drop a piece, like it bounces, it won't fall into the carpet. And then also, like, if you happen to spill stuff, then you might stain the carpet. So it's really nice to have like a wood floor or tile. All right, I'm gonna hold this up to the light again. Oops, I just dropped it. Oh my god. Okay, I gotta do this again. There was a little bit of putty that I wanted to do more, but there we go. I don't know if this will work, but we'll try. Okay, hold that up. This piece over here, this is the next one. I don't think it's quite as bad. Yeah, so there's like chunks taken out of it, but there's not a bunch of bubbles. So yeah, there's like a big chunk here. Maybe I'll need to use resin for that. We'll zoom in closer later. All right. That should be good. I see a beautiful link from Jen. Let's click that. Yeah, those are almost exactly what I'm thinking of. And those ones look like like rolls. So that's really nice. You could just kind of lay it along wherever you need to put it. Yeah, I was thinking like those square mats, but those, you don't get a lot of space with those, like square foot coverage, and they can be kind of expensive. Those ones look like they're good for workshop spaces. And they've got those nice like pokey holes too, so they'll really dig into the carpet. Alright, let's get this sanded. I'm gonna hold this piece kind of in the middle of the frill. This kit has no hands, so the frill is the only thing that she's got that vaguely resembles a hand. As much as I love tiny chibi hands, this one sadly does not have any. I don't know if any of the Whoopie Pie birds have hands. It's not something I very specifically looked for, so. Okay. Oh no, I'm so, that's a bummer. That's like when you get your phone and then you just drop it and it cracks. It's like, well, I guess that was always there. Alright, almost done with that. Makes me wonder if the artist does birds because they don't like hands. Possible! That's a very sneaky way to get around it. I will have to check because they make like not just birds. There's like a little nurse mouse that I have, but I don't know if that one has hands either. I'll have to look. I think she does. So there must be existence of hands in Whoopie's kits. Okay. Well, hand lover confirmed. She does have hands, so. I appreciate it because then I don't have to paint more flesh tone. That's always something that you really gotta work with. This one, the only flesh tone we're gonna be painting is her face, so we really don't have too much work to do on that. We can honestly even just use some of my many leftover paint mixtures I have from flesh tone, so I don't think I'm gonna mix another flesh tone at all for this kit. I've got so many little jars full of old commission flesh tones because I always make a lot of flesh tone just in case things happen. Sometimes you need to start over, and so then I end up with excess, and so I usually save the excess for my chibi kits or my own personal stuff because you don't need a lot of it typically if you're doing the clear skin method. Oh, and yeah, I definitely agree. Those are really difficult things to draw. Not that I'm like an illustrator by any means, but whenever I drew chibis, I would always like give them nubs. Not my favorite thing, but it just is what it is. Alright, let me see if I can sand down this tiny area needed. No, it just kind of pops off. Okay, so I think I'm going to use some resin here, some UV curing resin. There's little holes kind of in all of these spots. Let's see if I can point it out again. So you can see it if I put my hand here. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here. But I don't see it on the other pieces, so yeah, I think we're just gonna have to go in and fill those in. So let me get my resin. I actually did not take it out. Have fun at work, Black Fox. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope you have a safe and nice day at work. Let me grab my UV resin. Sculpted hands, never decided to do it again. Yeah, that's a big mood, right? They're a lot harder than you think, and so when you get like a very nicely sculpted hand or foot, especially foot, it's like a sign that the sculptor's pretty talented, because I've painted a lot of kits and there's very few like really nice hands and feet that I've encountered. Most of the time they're just fine, but there's very few that I just go like, wow, that is really nicely sculpted. Some artists are really good at it. All right, got my little, whoops, as I knock over everything. Okay, so let's see how this works. Hopefully this will offer a bit more stability. Oops. Why, camera? Why? There we go. Not that you guys will probably be able to see this very well anyway because it's clear, but okay, looks like I got it all on there. So let's put our UV curing tool. Shifted your entire focus to hard surface modeling after that. Yeah, oh man, it's tough. Like already the fact that you're, you know, sculpting and modeling is already more than I am willing to take on. So good for you for attempting that and going for it. It's tough. Thankfully, it's interesting now with the invention of ZBrush and all these other modeling programs. It's a lot less worry about things because now you can just alter things as you wish in a program. You know, you don't have to constantly sand down and figure everything out when you can just do it in a program. All right, let's see if this worked. I don't know if I held this long enough, but oh yeah, there's a lot of resin on that side. Hopefully. Nope, that didn't work either. I just chunked it off. Okay. Let me see if I can sand this though. So clearly X-Acto blade doesn't work, but perhaps sanding it will. You just have to go slow. Yeah, that's not cutting it. I might have to dig into that a little bit more. These holes are so small. Actually, Bondo might fix this too. Maybe I'll just leave this for Bondo. Mainly do 3D, taught yourself early in high school and got a job doing it. Oh, that's super cool. Smart way to do it too, right? Go and get your job doing it. That's awesome. And let's see, are you using the Tamiya light curing putty as well as UV curing putty? Yes. Yes, I'm using both products. I typically use a combination of things when I'm building kits depending on the need. It just kind of depends what I feel like doing and what the repair calls for. Okay, I'm gonna leave this aside for now and see if the Bondo will help fill this in because it's just such a small hole. I might have to go and repair this later myself. We'll kind of see. Because it's like it's right on the edge, so it's kind of a pain to drill it out. Let's see, how sensitive is the Tamiya to light? I've seen others trying to apply it in the dark. Well, you definitely don't need complete darkness. As we've been applying it right here. So I have a big light on my left here, and I've got another light right above me. It is quite sensitive, so typically what I do is I uncap it, and then I'll just do it right now. So I uncap it. Oops. You can leave it open while you're uncapping it. And then I kind of take a little bit out, put it in like this, kind of dab it in. And then as soon as I have this hole filled, I close the tube right away. So with you're doing that, and keeping the bottle closed, you're not going to dry out the whole tube. The outside of it might get a little bit crusty, but it kind of peels off, and so then you have a layer of it that has cured and the rest doesn't cure in it. It does also come with a bag, and so when you're not using it, it's ideal to store it into this bag, and then once it's in the bag, I put it back in its big box. And so with that, I haven't really had any issues at all. I don't think that it's yeah, it's not something that you need to go in blind and apply it, with a small candle or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, rest assured you can use it in a normal setting. But it is quite sensitive. As you see, I'm just holding the piece up, and then within a minute or less, it's, sandable. So, I would not take it out and put it on a cardboard because that's gonna cure right away. I only use it directly from the bottle. Yeah, no worries, Jen. And then let's see. Mittens is shifting to development. Wow, so I have no idea what any of that means in a context besides sculpting. But that's awesome that you are able to make that as your career. Sometimes I wish I was in an art career like that, because my main job is very much not art focused whatsoever. It's cool to be able to have skills in your job and then actually use them, for your hobby too. And yeah, Mr. Freaka, I don't really understand it that well either. It's very much a learning curve thing. I tried, not very good at it. Maybe someday I'll revisit it, but at the time it was just it just didn't feel like the right time to start investing all my resources into learning it. I wanted to kind of master some other skills first. Alright, so let's keep moving along with this. Got some chunk taken out here. Okay, I think that's it for that side. Yeah, so let's cure that side. Development is mainly programming. Well, that would be why I don't understand it. Because that is 100% not in my comfort. But yeah, that's big money. Lots and lots of money coming out of that. So honestly, that's kind of the way to go if you want to make big money. Alright. Pretty good. I think we're ready to keep on sanding. Hopefully there's not too many holes on the other side here. Yeah, gotta make all that money, support all your friends. Just kidding. Definitely not. Secure your life. Alright. I've switched back to the 400 if it was not noticeable. 600 is good, but I just really need to dig down. Okay. Oh my god. Choose the gold one. It's the only one worth it. Oh my gosh. Well, we tried, right? At least we tried. It's better to have tried than have not tried at all. Even if the only end result is test scores. Alright. Almost sanded out here. There's just a little crevice that I want to make sure that I get all of the bits out of. Okay, that looks pretty good. Those like little nicks taken out of it fill in pretty good too, so that's good. Okay, so let's take a look on the other side. Oh, there is really nothing on the other side. That's pleasant. This piece though, it does have a fair number of like that weird different colored resin. There's like some noticeable lines running through it, but when I sand it down, I just kind of see the line. So that I think that will be something that I'm gonna have to Bondo and see if there's any patch ups needed. Otherwise, primer should take care of this. So let's do, I think we did. Oh, did I do this side? No, I did not. I got so flustered by this that I skipped it. So let's go back to this piece here. There's two little ones. There's a hole right here, and then there's a chunk taken out of it here, as you can see. So we're gonna fill all of that in as well. Thankfully, that's the only two things on here. And then after that, the only thing we have left is the last frill on that shoulder piece. And whatever I decide to do with these little holes that were in this type of piece. Okay. This one might be a good resin one, but I'm gonna try the Tamiya first and see. I'm gonna put a little more on this piece because we're gonna have to sand it into that kind of round shape. I might have to build it up here too. Meaning like let this layer cure and then add another layer on top of it. I think that's pretty good. There's a little bit more here I could do. I try to get it all done at once because sometimes when you build up the layers you get some unevenness. This is not working too much. Okay, we'll start there. Yeah, actually I can see the outline of it, so we'll try that. All right, we'll hold this up. It might just kind of flake off too. That sometimes happens, so we'll see how it goes. move that. Can put this piece away as well. If I can open this bag. Oh, durable. There we go. Okay, that go in there. So like 2.5 left basically, or 1.5 left. This one had a lot of holes though. See all the holes here. So we'll fix all that up. All right, this is about good. We'll start with this side over here. Let's see how 600 work. I'm ready to move on. Like I want to Bondo, I want to finish this, I want to start the priming. It's hard to believe, but we definitely have been working on this kit for more than a month at this point. Okay, there's a little bit of weirdness happening here where it's kind of like, it's not a straight one. You can see it's kind of malformed and it's not rounded. I'm just gonna sand it so it is rounded. I don't feel like sculpting it up. I feel like sanding it down. So that's one way to kind of handle it. This works on hair pieces too. If you don't feel like sculpting the hair piece out, just kind of sand it down. It gets a little more rounded, but it's really not too big of an issue. As long as it doesn't end up like down here and it looks roughly the same as the other ones, then you're totally fine. Okay. Might return that. It's still a little lumpy, so let's see. Probably have to adjust my positioning on this too. Okay. There we go. Let's see, I like how you chatter away and don't seem to force the out there personality. Thank you, Jen. I actually really appreciate that. I'm not big on that type of personality either. It's not who I am. And I mainly kind of just wanted to be able to chat with people. So seeing a comment like that, I really appreciate it. I think so far streaming's been really fun because I've been kind of doing it on my own terms. And I think it's very easy to go into it expecting that you need to create a certain persona or, you know, display a certain type of yourself that may not be genuine in order to get more views or whatever. And so for me, like, I just want to show off my hobby. You know, to me it doesn't really matter how many views I get or anything like that. And so I think if you go into it just wanting to show off your art and what you do, then no matter what, like, you'll get a genuine following, you know? So I don't know if I'm even one to be giving out Twitch advice. I've only been doing this, I think I started last February, and so it's been almost a year since I've started. And I was very, very hesitant about starting it. I'd been asked to do it for a very long time, but I don't even really watch Twitch. Like, really the only time I go on Twitch is when I'm doing these streams for you guys. So, you know, I think it's very possible to participate in Twitch and have fun with it even if you're not an active Twitch user, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So thanks so much for those of you who have tuned in and continue to tune in and appreciate my style. Nothing knocking any other style. So however you choose to use Twitch is like awesome, but for me this is what I like to do. So okay, I think this is pretty much good. This one actually sanded down a lot easier. Oh, thank you so much, Jen. Really, that means a lot. Thank you. After posting that, I'm like, thank you. And you too, Mr. Freaky. Hopefully, you know, hopefully these streams are fun and helpful for you guys, even if it's only a little bit of time. And I know it seems like not a lot gets done each stream, but that's kind of how this kit building goes. Like eventually it's just like done and you're like, oh, that was a lot of time put in, but it's worth it, I think. I'm looking over this and I keep sanding it down. Okay, I think that's mostly good. Wow, thank you. I don't know what else to say. I don't want to be like saying it over and over, but at least now you have cute emojis that you can use as well. I have a set of Kermits that I like to post sometimes, so. Good times. I'm looking over this. Oh, what is this? Oh, there's like a tiny hole. I must have drilled that out. Okay, there's a really little hole. I don't know if I can even show it. Probably won't focus, but it's like right in here. You can kind of see my drill bit going into it. I have to fill that in too. Started subbing to some people on Patreon too, but there's so many talented people. Yeah, Patreon's a really good one for creators. Well, it has been for a while. I don't know how it is now, but it's always, that was kind of the go-to that people would, you know, do to post their tutorials and things like that. I considered a Patreon at one point, but my issue with Patreon is like you kind of have to set it up so there's like monthly special content and stuff like that, and I just don't have enough ongoing content to make it a sustainable thing. So I would rather just like give out free tutorials on my website and then stream here for people, and that's good enough for me. Okay, holding this up to the light. There's one more. But yeah, Patreon's awesome. There's a lot of like cosplayer tutorial stuff on there too. Those are ones that are pretty cool. There's something for everybody, honestly. Okay. The people you support release new 3D models each month. Oh wow. See that's the type of Patreon I can get behind. When you get like special access to an artist whose work you really like. And then the ability to like print it. That's super cool. I wish that Japanese modelers did that. And then we can just print their works instead of having to buy expensive kits on the aftermarket. The dream. We're getting there. That's what Booth is slowly getting there, so. Okay, this one's gonna be tricky. I'm gonna sand it kind of this way. I might also be able to use the X-Acto knife here. Let's try. Just very slowly. That will kind of help. There we go. Remove some of the extra flashy stuff. Hoping to find more models to print on Booth. Yeah, I haven't seen too many like 3D models that they allow prints of. There's a fair number of them. But yeah, it's mostly just out of stock cute kits. You're right. You're not wrong. It's very true. Booth is like funny because they look like they have a ton of stuff and that, you know, there's all these models available, but in reality, like a lot of the kits are sold in really limited batches and they sell very quickly. So it looks like there's a lot, but it's mostly just sold out. So if you have a sculptor that you really like, I highly recommend following them on Twitter. Because they usually post when they're putting the kit up on Booth and when they allow the pre-order, and then that way you can hopefully get it then. Sometimes you encounter cases where you're asleep and then they tweet about it and say, I'm opening it now, and then when you wake up it's already sold out. That has happened to me, so it's like, okay. nice having a time there trying to buy your work. That didn't work. But the good thing is they can resell them too if they're original, so, or even sometimes if they're not original, if they're licensed but allowed. So it happens. Restocks do happen. Started finding a few. I'm worried about looking too deeply and running out of money. That's another big mood too. I have to keep an eye on Booth personally because I update my mail order guide like once every 1 or 2 months. So I'm always posting new artists that are on Booth, and so I every month or two I go through every single listing, and luckily I have a pretty good memory, so I'm able to pick out which ones are new and which ones aren't. So that has helped. But yeah, there's a lot of sold out things. Okay, this is done while I'm sighing because this is taking a while. But it goes like this. So you can see that big chunk was also needed, but it's mostly smoothed out now and it should be good. So very last piece that we're gonna work on is this one, which has a bunch of holes here. If it will focus, please. There you go. Like that. So quite a few there. Also, this song is really odd, so I'm going to skip it. Actually, I don't know if I really like this set at all. This artist has so many songs, and I don't know how I had it set up last time, but it was kind of random, but now it's just all, oh, this one's okay. Groovy songs. Some of them are like deep bass beats, and some of them are like video game, and others are super chill. So the last album was really nice, but that one was not cutting it. Oops, let me move this. Okay, let's get going with some poppin' music. That's my mood right now. One. I'm gonna fill in quite a few of these. Oops, just knocked off my little cardboard. It's okay. Alright. And this looks like the last one. So all three of those. Let's fold up this. Okay. Hopefully those sand down really easy, and then that's all we've got. I didn't look on the other side of it. Still don't know what to do with this though. What I might end up doing is just drilling a little farther in and then trying to fill it in that way. Oops. I feel like I'm dropping a lot of pieces today. Alright, that should be good. This is, I need new paper again. I'm using old paper. I don't have that much 400 left. Oh wait, yes I do. This is 400. I keep thinking that I need my purple paper, but I have this yellow one that's also 400. This is an odd roll that I bought when I was in Australia, actually. Lasted me that long. Because, like the person I am, when I went out to do work in another country, I brought some garage kits with me. Because there's nothing to do but stand in the hotel room and watch TV. So I purchased a roll of sandpaper at a hobby store. Or not even a hobby store, it was like a hardware store. I forgot what it's called. Whatever that one. Bunyan? I don't know. Jen would know. Buntings? Yeah. But it was good stuff. Paper lasts a long time. Okay. Bunnings, yeah, that was it. I couldn't remember it. I knew it was bun something. Yeah, we went to Bunnings to buy a bunch of stuff for the job, and then I snuck this into the purchase, the work order, because I was like, I'm gonna need that later. And yes, we can totally use this paper for our lab. And then I just took the whole thing. Okay, I missed a hole here, so let me fill that in. Yeah, it was pretty funny. And I was probably really honest about it too, to my boss, because we were on pretty good terms, and he actually used to build Gundams, when he was growing up. And so we always kind of got along really well because he, you know, knew that I liked models and stuff. And he would always be like, well, you know us modelers. And I'd be like, okay. All right. It's just fun. Good times. And now I sit here and work on kits alone. Just kidding. I have all of you guys. Okay. Sorry. Try to get this to focus again. There we go. All right. So we got those top ones filled up, but not this little middle one. So there's a tiny little hole that was in the middle, in between this fold, I guess I should say. And so I want to try to sand it out. But this piece is so small, it's really easy to do a lot of damage, so I gotta be careful. Try to cut some of this out too. There we go. Okay, I was liking these songs, but I don't know about this one. This is a little weird. Same with potters. Need all the toys and repurpose the weirdest tools for pottery. Yeah, that's fun though, right? Like being able to take stuff and repurpose it and make your own creations. Use things in different ways. That's what being an artist is all about, so. I'm always on the hunt for weird stuff that I can use for bases or supplies or whatever. Not quite as bad as those dollhouse ladies, because I used to be in a bunch of dollhouse groups. I guess I still am, but I'm not on like social media as much these days. But some of these people are incredible with the things that they repurpose, but it also ends up in them collecting like bottle caps and tiny capsules and other random things because it's like, oh, I could use this later. I'm not quite there yet, where I'm like hoarding straws and things to be able to make things. But after that mini kit, I'm really impressed with like the amount of things that you can repurpose and the ways that they creatively used things. Like I would never think to use a straw as like a gutter in a little house, but they did, so. Always trying to be more creative, but it seems like there's just, I'm pretty logical too, so sometimes that stuff escapes me. Okay, as soon as I finish sanding this, I'm gonna look at this song because this is an oddity. Oh, it looks like it's over. Maybe. Yes. And I'm gonna switch my paper to the cue. I don't want to hold this in a weird position because it feels like it could snap. This is probably one of the thinnest parts out of all of the kit. Do a little more 400 here. I'm gonna have to start thinking about paint for this kit too. We're getting there. Don't think I'm gonna change the color scheme, but we'll see. Smooth that a little bit. Might have to do some color tests and see how I'm feeling about it. I have been wanting to paint green for a while though, so I think I'll go for it. If you ever look at Mesh and Krieger models, you can see lots of repurposed bits in the original sculpt. Yeah, I've definitely come across those before, and they're super cool. That's amazing that they would be able to take things like the Yakult bottles and, you know, little trinkets and lighters and things and then turn it into actual like models. It's so cool. There's one guy on Twitter, and probably he has his portfolio and stuff. I don't know if you've seen him, Jen, but he basically, it's a Japanese modeler, and he takes like an ordinary object, so some sort of trash, like I don't know if you guys have like Pringles cans. It's like a little potato chip can, like a crisp can, and he turns it into like a Pringles man. Yeah, so he like deconstructs the bottle and then reconstructs the whole like the thing into the mascot or some sort of robot or something like that. I will have to try to find it, but it's incredible. Like, and they're definitely models. They're like art sculptures that this guy has created. But he takes them using, you know, regular commercial junk food trash. And he does it for all sorts of things too. So not just cans, it's like, you know, bags of gummies and other stuff like that. Really cool. That's a whole other level that is just like, wow, people are so amazing. And to be able to like see something out of just what most would consider trash is really cool. Okay. A little bit more here, I think. Let's see, Bill Making Stuff on YouTube does lots of stuff. I'll have to look these guys up because I haven't heard of them, but that sounds exactly like something I would like to have in my YouTube algorithm. My algorithm get kind of weird because I have like a bunch of like how to make stuff, not like art, but I just like watching those videos of like how it's made. So I've got a bunch of those, and then it's mixed in with a bunch of other random stuff. So I can always use more sculpture building stuff. Let me click real quick to see if I have encountered this before. It's hard to believe that Mint Mobile can be good. Oh, that's just Ryan Reynolds. What are you doing there, Ryan Reynolds? I brought in an ad. This video brought to you by the I'll just skip ahead. Oh, I think I've seen this. I've seen the final photo of this. I don't know if it was posted somewhere, but wow, that's incredible. Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy watching this later. Thank you for the link. That's exactly the type of stuff that I enjoy looking at. This is a Patreon worth subscribing to. This guy taking me stuff. Super cool. Thank you. I'll check those out later. And I think with that, we're mostly done with this piece. So I'm gonna put this one aside and I am going to revisit this. I want to see if I can drill into this and if that works. It's such a problematic hole though. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, the problem is it's just so thin. See if I can kind of carve into it. There we go. Well, that dug it out. So let me see if I can fix that. So I made the hole a little bit bigger. You can see right here. I might be able to fill in that one with putty. If not, if this doesn't work, I'm gonna set this piece aside and do some tinkering around with it later because I really want to move on to the Bondo tonight and just get that going. It does take a little bit of time to dry, so. And that will also give me a good idea of how much I have left. Okay. All right, that's good. Let's see, any tips on bending resin? Just notice some thin parts you have are pretty warped. And then Mr. Frike says hot water and swearing. Yes, that is definitely one method. So there's the ratio. There's typically two methods that a lot of modelers go about when it comes to heating up and bending resin. The first one is what I recommend doing, and it's the method that I use. And it's taking a blow dryer, so just a regular blow dryer for your hair. Turn it up to the high setting and just like spray it all over the piece. Get that hot air all over that piece. It's kind of the similar method to removing a magnet. So you want to directly apply the heat to the piece for maybe about a minute. I recommend putting the piece in like a woolly blanket or something really hot so you won't burn your hands. And then once that piece is heated up, you can basically bend it to the shape that you want. And resin will cool down pretty quickly, so you want to make sure that in that time, you know, of it being malleable, you're able to get it into the shape you want and then leave it that way, and then it'll kind of cool down and stay in that position. The other method is what Mr. Frike has posted, and that is using hot water. And so typically people boil a bunch of water and then drop the piece into the water, let it heat up, you know, real nice and hot, and then take the piece out and manipulate it that way. I have not had quite as much luck doing that method, and so that's one of the reasons I don't recommend it, but I know plenty of people that that's their go-to, so it really just kind of comes down to what you feel like works best. Yeah, an oven glove will also work excellently to make sure your hands don't get burned, because hot resin it's really hot, obviously, but there's been many times where I've heated this piece, like the pieces up, and then touched them, and my hands have, like, you can see the little burns on my fingertips, and so just be careful when you're doing it. But those methods should work with enough patience. You know, it should be okay. Do they melt if it's overheated? No. So the melting temperature of resin is significantly higher than its like bend, I guess. So there's a melt point, and then there's, you know, another point. I wish I could remember off the top of my head. I'm blanking. It's science. But basically, you shouldn't really worry about melting the resin if you're putting a blow dryer or putting it into you know, some hot water. What I have heard is that if you apply too hot of a temperature, so if you're using a heat gun, someone I know has said that basically that can damage the resin, but I can't confirm or deny that, because I also have another friend who uses a heat gun and they are fine with it. So I recommend going like at a lower heat first, doing something like a blow dryer, you know, the boiling water, but you shouldn't worry about it melting for sure. If anything, it'll just get really hot. Yeah, I would go a little bit more hesitantly with the heat gun, just because that has, you know, it does a lot very quickly. And so the friend that I have that does use the heat gun, she only puts it on the heat for a very, very short time. And that's enough to really bend the resin. The benefit of the heat gun is because it's so quick, you know, you're able to bend the piece really quick, but you don't want to go too fast. So the blow dryer is like a slow process, slower, I guess. And same with the boiling water. But yeah, that method will work. Both will work. Both I highly recommend before you need to do putty work or anything, because sometimes all you need to do is just bend the piece and then it'll fit. There have been many times where, you know, it has looked like I've needed to putty something, and then after a heat treatment, that's not the case. And thank goodness, because to me it's a lot more work having to putty and do all of that than just applying a blow dryer for a minute and then pushing the pieces together. My Abigail kit, well, it's not mine, but the Abigail kit that I built that is probably gonna cycle through, she had some serious issues with the shirt. She had like a shirt that she's wearing and that didn't fit at all. So that took me multiple tries of getting that piece bent. You could tell that it would fit, but just the way that it was cast, it wasn't fitting at the moment. So you'll have to like go by your best judgment. All right. So I kind of wasn't talking there, but this actually did work. I drilled a larger hole into these pieces, and then as you can see here, I have filled that in now. I'm topping the top one. So yeah, exactly like Jen says, the heat guns are really hot. The only time that I've used heat guns is when I'm soldering stuff. So just got to be really careful. And I wouldn't put it on for more than what's necessary. So I would do only, you know, a few seconds at most and then go from there. And slowly work your way up into what you think is acceptable, or when you can get the piece to become malleable. Okay. Glad that this worked. I really didn't want to do too much to this. And as much as I love Bondo, I don't think it would have helped here. So sometimes you just gotta drill these holes bigger. In fact, that's usually what I have to end up doing. If I notice any holes, I have to just drill them out. It's the only way I can be sure that I filled it in completely. Kind of working on the back of this one first. Yeah, I don't know about that. I cannot vouch for that method. That seems exceptionally dangerous. But, you know. You gotta try different things. Safety is the biggest thing here, you know. Really, when we're dealing with models, we're under all kinds of like potential hazards. You know, you can cut yourself with your X-Acto knife. You can breathe in volatile fumes. You can burn yourself. You know, you gotta be careful in all parts of the hobby. So, just always good to think ahead with a safety precaution in mind, I say. Okay, a little bit more here, and then I think we're good. This is just such minor repair at this point, trying to get that tiny hole filled in, and I might even spot more. Also, there's some weirdness here. My concern is I'm just gonna keep sanding these down and then they'll be just like tiny nubs. So I think we're pretty much good here. Luckily that worked. Drilling them all out and filling them in again. So now you can see these are mostly rounded and certainly not, you know, a big concern since they're gonna be kind of far away anyway. And actually they're on the inner side of her dress too, so we really won't see them from too many angles. So yeah, that, I think with that said, we're pretty much done with the light curing putty for now until I spot more. So I'm gonna put this putty away, and what we're gonna do now is take out the kit pieces again, and this time I'm gonna look over them kind of intently, piece by piece, and if I see anything that resembles a line or scratches or needing repairs, I'm going to put in this Bondo glazing and spot putty on it. I'm going to thin out the putty and apply it kind of liberally over the piece, and then we'll be sanding all of it down. We'll probably do a couple pieces at a time because it takes a little while for this Bondo to dry. I hopefully don't anticipate needing to use the Bondo on every piece, but there are certainly areas like the front of her dress here, which we filled in so many of these holes. But there's a possibility I may have missed some holes. So typically I kind of check the spots and see what I need to do. There's some areas on the front here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Oh, that's a very close up. Let's see. All of these dots here, those were filled in with Bondo. So we're really looking for like micro scratch bubbles and those types of situations here. We're not looking for the big things that we filled in. But because this kit had so many tiny holes, we need to go over it and see. Yeah, I can see a bunch of them here. Whoops, I know it's not focused, but there's like a bunch over here. So we'll just kind of play it by ear and see what happens. We're gonna start at the bottom again. I'm going to get my glove for this. And I need this piece of cardboard, and this stuff does not cure in light. This is just an automotive putty. It goes on really red, as you can see, so unfortunately we will be maiming this beautiful white resin, but there's really nothing that I can do about that. The kit is just in such bad shape, or it was. We'll probably see a lot of this when we prime as well. Sometimes those bubbles really pop up. Alright, so I'm gonna take a tiny bit of thinner and get this all nice and liquidy, and then just kind of apply it in the areas where I think there might be tiny micro bubbles. These ones can be really difficult to see with your hand or with your eyes. Definitely not with your hand, but they can be tough to see, so it's kind of like honestly a crapshoot whether or not they show up. But I'm gonna focus the search on areas that I have already filled in all of these bubbles, so that's usually where they show up. So that's why I filled in all of these first, so I could see where I needed to focus all of the Bondo. Maybe there, I'm not sure. There's also a hair on this that's kind of annoying. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that. I think that one's okay. They tend to show up a lot under seam lines, so anywhere where we had a seam line, they could possibly also show up. I'm really pulling this close to my face, so I'm sorry if it's not clear. I'll try to make it clearer. There we go. Okay. I'm actually not seeing too many though, too many lines, which is a good thing. I want to try to use as little of this as possible. Okay. Holding this up, there is a little bit. Looks like a line here. Okay. If you hold the piece up to the light and you rotate it, you can also sometimes see if there's a scratch or something minor that you miss. But after this step, and after we get all this sanded down, assuming there's no other repairs, we'll be able to move on to priming. So I think that's highly reasonable, and we can expect to prime next stream. Meaning I will completely change my booth setup and my camera, and we'll be going into my airbrush booth and spraying these with the first coat of primer. It's finally happening. As a forewarning though, because my booth is so loud, we will have no sound when I have it on. That's kind of been the scenario that I've had for these past builds. Whoa, I see some people. Thank you, Thornbush. I don't know what I'm talking about. Thanks so much for the raid. Hope you guys are all doing nice tonight. We are building models and puttying right now, so we just finished our big batch of putty, and now we're kind of doing a spot treatment on some of these areas I think may be problematic. Kind of looking over it. Putting very thin coats of putty down. There's a hole there, I can already see it, so let me mark that one. Wondering if I should put a bunch of the primer here. How's it going? Doing all right. Yeah, just enjoying the stream here. Doing a lot of work on models, so can't complain. Listening to some groovy tunes. Not sure if you're familiar with garage kits, but basically I build Japanese models. So these are models that artists in Japan sculpt, and typically buy them at festivals, but you can get them in many other ways. I tried to raid your stream. Did it work? Well, I see you. I don't know if anybody else showed up, but you're here, and that's what matters, right? Yeah, it looks like it did, because it says there's 4 people that came with you. But I think that when you raid someone's stream, they have to like accept or deny it. So I don't know if other people came along with you. Either way, that's fine. I appreciate the sentiment. Oh, nice. All right. Hello, Panda. Yeah, it looks like it worked then. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Oh, cool. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I can't check that stuff, so I appreciate, well, I guess I could technically, but I'm kind of occupied. Thanks. But yeah, so basically, I build Japanese models. They typically come unpainted, unassembled. They're highly limited, and it's my job to repair them and get them ready for painting. So that's what we're working on tonight. We're doing some puttying, so we're looking for tiny holes that we're gonna fill in here with this red putty. And once this putty's dry, we're gonna sand them all out and see if we found any of the holes. Okay, I'm gonna focus on the tips of these and the sides first, And then we'll check the middle because that was my main area of concern. I don't see any on that side. Okay, there is a very real possibility they could show up here though. So I'm going to thin this a little more. And let's spread it out. Let's see, Muffin says, my fingers are toasty, but it looks like you got the resin to bend. Oh, awesome. I'm glad it ended up working out for you. That's a big relief, right? Then you don't have to do the whole puttying thing. And let's see, sweet, I 3D print and build scale RC cars on your channel. Oh, super cool. That is an aspect of a hobby that I am not familiar with. But seeing as RC cars often show up in hobby stores, I definitely know of them. But it's cool that you 3D print them too. Do you like model your own then? Or do you like just print out other people's ones and then build those? And then you gotta put the engine in all of it too, right? Pretty cool. And also, can you like take them out on the track too after you print them and build them? I would assume so. Some you do and some customs. Cool. That's super cool. Well, we have very different hobbies, but you're completely welcome here. I am a firm believer that we can learn a lot from other people who are in like similar but different hobbies. So always happy to welcome people from everywhere here. I always think it's surprising how much product overlap there is for like a lot of this stuff. Really, when it comes down to it, a lot of the methods are similar. You know, you gotta sand. Everybody loves sandpaper. A lot of times you gotta prime it, so skill sets are interchangeable. But I'm sure RC cars come with their own sets of challenges too. Alright, I'm gonna leave this like so. It's got a lot of random spots here, but I'm kind of just spot checking to see if there's any holes. I'm hoping that's not the case here, but you never know. We're gonna let these dry. Yeah, because we did thin it out, it's already pretty dry already. But I'm gonna do this other skirt side and then we can move back and go to the pieces that we just put that putty on. 3D printing brought a lot of hobbies together. Isn't that the truth? Yeah, you're totally right. It's so interesting how, you know, the 3D printing has already like brought so many people together. There's still so much to like dive into it with, because like really I've been in this game for a long time, and back in the days of the internet, things were like split up into forums, and so like you had your separate spaces for things, and there was really not that much overlap between hobbyists. But now like everything is on Instagram, everything's on Twitch. It's so easy to just like click and engage with someone in a different hobby. So I really like that all of the 3D printing and everything brought everyone together. Let's see, what brought you here was you built scale garages with workbenches and welders. Oh man, yeah, you know the drill then, right? There's just so much prep in everything. Oh my god, yeah. It's enough to drive you nuts sometimes, but then you think about it and you gotta deal with it. Like, if you want that nice finish, don't matter. You gotta sand, you gotta prep. So I joke that like my streams are basically like 80% prep, because they really are. Like, I just spend so much time preparing models and preparing my work so it looks nice when it's painted. I totally feel you. Alright. I remember this piece was a lot nicer than the other one, so thankfully we have a little less to do. But I'm still gonna put some of this putty on the areas where I saw a lot of the bubbles. And I am putting it along the side too. Oops, sorry. Not that there's that much to see, but come on, camera. There we go. So not that there's too much to see here, I'm just applying red, but this stuff's nice too though, because it will fill in a lot of those micro scratches. And so if we went in a little bit too hard with the 400, that will even show us, you know, it'll fill in those 400 grit scratches. Okay, and I definitely see a bubble here, so we can fill that in. Okay, and I already filled in the ones that were up here on this little piece, so let me hold this up to the light real quick. That's another effective way to like see if there's something wrong that you missed. And I don't see any here, but what I'm gonna do one final area on this piece because I held it up to the light and I saw a whole bunch. So I'm just gonna really wet this down. It's a little thick, but that's fine. All right, so I think we're pretty much ready to start sanding some of these down. They're a little bit wet still. Some of these are dry and some are not. So let's focus on the ones that are more dry, and I am just gonna go for it with my 800 grit and see what happens. Let's get it sanded. If we did a good job, we're not gonna see anything because that means the surface was already smooth. But if we see a line that filled in, that means the Bondo found it. And it's good that it found it, but unfortunately it means the cast was not smooth. So far this one looks okay. Sometimes what I end up doing is I think areas have issues, but then it's just like a trick of the light, or maybe the cast is a slightly different color in that area, and so it ends up not being a big deal. Again, we don't really want to see anything pop up in red because that just makes an issue with the priming and all of that later. Let me get another piece of 800. I'll actually use this. Okay, so that one was actually good. There was nothing there. You can see as we zoom in on her tiny little body here. I expected to find a seam line there, but there was nothing. So I think this piece is just good to go in terms of being ready for primer. So I'm gonna start kind of putting pieces, I'll just put it back in the bag as we go. Let's do this one. I have this long piece of 800 here that I usually attach to 2 alligator clips so I can sand back and forth. But for now I'm just using it. Oh, I definitely see a couple. There's a few really tiny micro bubbles here. Oh, yep. That was a good call. See some 3D printer talk. That's cool. We actually just purchased the 3D printer not too long ago. Haven't had too much chance to use it for anything I want, but so far it seems awesome. I think we got that Elegoo. Okay, yeah, that one actually, I did need that. So let's see how this side fares. And that was okay. So this might be a little hard to spot. I'm not sure if there we go. Oh dang it, camera had it. It's so tiny that there we go. Camera can barely pick up on it. You can see those tiny dots. Those are the Bondo dots. So they're really small scratches that we're looking for here. Honestly, primer could probably fill some of these in, but it makes it a little bit smoother for the primer, so you don't have to apply as thick of a coat when you're doing that. So that was a good call, but now I'm hesitant because these were along a seam line, so I'm concerned that they might pop up. And I do see something here when I hold it up to the light. If I see any really nasty areas, I'll try to take a photo because my camera on my phone is capable of a much higher zoom up close. And last time when we dealt with these with one of the previous kits that we painted, it was actually pretty incredible the amount of damage that was visible. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave that one and then we can start Are you looking through a magnifying glass or do you just have good eyes? I guess I have good eyes. I'm not using a magnifying glass right now, but I do hold the piece like really close up to my face in order to see them. It's definitely really difficult. I have some really nice lighting on this bench, so it's just kind of a combination of all of that. I do, however, use a magnifying glass sometimes. I have this little portable one, and so I stick it up to my eye when I need to do like really specific things. And so sometimes I do need to use that. But in terms of the priming, nah, we're just kind of eyeballing it. And I do have a rough idea of where the damage is here because we have been drilling out a lot of these little holes and filling them in. In fact, like 3 of my past streams, like we did nothing but fill in holes. So slow going, but it gets there. Same here, I'm already starting to see a bunch of these holes. They're so surface level and they're so small. Let me sand a little bit more and then I'll try to get in for you guys. And it's kind of hard to tell at first because the red of the Bondo, like it just looks like it's powdery. But then once you get all that sanded down, you can see them. Especially when it's concerning garage kits, a lot of times the type of small bubble damage is concentrated along the seam lines, at least for the ones that I've seen. But there are certainly exceptions that can happen as well. Like with the skirt that I had just put the putty all over. Okay. Get some of this sanded down too. Actually, what I'm gonna do is just put lacquer here. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Red Panda. Really appreciate it. Happy to be here and talk all sorts of things. All right. Let's get this area sanded. And I think this, I don't know if this is good enough for a photo, honestly. Sometimes I want that really nice damage, but this is just small, minor little stuff. Yeah, it's not even showing up. Let me take a photo on my phone so you guys can see kind of what I'm dealing with. But I did get a new phone and now it doesn't show the damage quite as well. If you see my phone, that's what I'm doing. Come on. Dang, yeah, I used to take so much better quality photos, but now I can't even get a photo of the zoom in of the damage. So, but you can see, like here, that red dot, that's not excess putty, that's a hole it filled in. And there's a bunch of like little subsurface ones as well. So we're just trying to fill in all of that garbage. Oh yeah, need to open Twitch again. I'll have to check on my phone and try to get these settings to work out. Because before I was able to take such good zoom ins. Sorry, gotta check that again. There we go. All right, let's keep going. There was definitely one here. Yep. And there was definitely one in here. That looks like it's not dry yet. I'm gonna leave that alone. If it feels kind of like putty, obviously you don't want to mess with it. You only want to sand it when it's dry. So not too much going on there. If you see me wiping these with a Q-tip, that's just because I have some thinner on them. And it's really easy to wipe away the red powdery dust with it. So Bondo thins with lacquer thinner, so I kind of have a small cup of it right here and a window open. And we're dealing with such a small amount that it's kind of okay for now. But if you're working with a lot of it, obviously you want to have your ventilator on and a fan and all of that. That's usually the case here, the conditions that I do it under. Okay, not seeing any on the edges here, so that's good. It seems like the bubbles are concentrated on the edges of the seam lines here. Both good and bad. And not really expecting anything in the middle here. So what I'm doing is just wiping all of this off because I don't want to over sand the insides here because these pieces already fit with magnets. So if we over sand, then we're not going to get that fine fit that we were looking for. Oh yeah, I found a whole bunch here, so that's good. And let's get this sanded. These funky beats. I feel like last time it was definitely not as upbeat as this. We're still in the same album, so interesting. Alright, let's get a quick wipe down on this. Don't want to do it too much because then you risk kind of pulling out the putty from those micro holes that you just filled in. So you really just want to go enough to wipe off the powder stuff. Okay. Yeah, there were a fair number here. Again, not sure if they're visible. Oh yeah, you can kind of see them. Come on, camera. It's gonna be really difficult. There we go. So see all those little red dots kind of right here? I think that's the extent of the lens. But yeah, there's a bunch kind of hiding in there. So that's good, we got those sanded out. And we'll leave that other one alone. So let's go to, let's wrap this one up and then we'll go to the other piece of the skirt and that will be kind of where we end tonight. I should have enough time this upcoming weekend to wrap up the Bondo on these pieces, so I think we can fully expect next stream to contain primer. I will be priming with an airbrush in my booth, so if you're interested at all in that, that's what we'll be doing. Alright, this one's good. There was a little spot here that I did notice and it did fill in. Okay, so last piece. This one. The troublesome one. Alright, let's get going. Just gonna go for it and hope for the best. And I probably need to switch out my paper. That looks kind of nerve-wracking. Yeah, there's a couple spots there. Okay, wipe that down. Also good for wiping down if you put on too thick of a layer. It will take off like the top parts. Okay, let's get one more paper. Might not finish this piece tonight. Wait, this is a 1200. Let's see. I think that 600 will work. Yeah, let's use this one. Oh yeah. Whoop. I was gonna say yeah, and then I wiped it off. It's just dust. There's a few here and there. So far, the damage is not as bad as I thought it would be. So that's always a good thing. Really, I go into this expecting there's gonna be a ton of these holes because I have dealt with some really bad kits in the past. So I'm always pleasantly surprised if that turns out to not be the case. We did have all that putty hell with the made kit, and so I was hoping this wouldn't be made 2.0. Looks like so far we're good. Unfortunately, one of the downsides of using this Bondo though is that it can kind of stain your kit red. So if you're really looking for that pure white resin, this is not the product to like use for it. I know a lot of people like to use clear primer with their really beautiful white resin kits, but I would only really use that unless you know you have a really nice kit, which is not often. I work with so many nice white resin kits and then they turn out to be full of holes like this one, and so when you want to use the clear primer, sometimes you just don't have that option, in which case we will be priming in white and covering most of this red, even if it goes on a little bit colored red. Then it's not, you know, too big of an issue. Hey, thank you so much, Destructo. 2 months already? Oh my gosh. Feels like you just got here. Thanks for your continued support. It's always nice to see the resubs. Means that I'm at least continuing to engage people. I'm sorry I have not visited you guys in Minecraft. Hopefully you're playing Minecraft, otherwise this is awkward, but I just like to dig. Alright, filling in this hole here. Need more paper. That's the other issue with this Bondo, is it just kind of fills up the paper super quick. So I find myself going through it. I could technically wet sand, I guess, but it's just easier to kind of get rid of these since I have so much sandpaper. You will be in a bit. Yeah, it's all good. Probably won't be going on it tonight anymore because it's almost bedtime. Actually, wow, looking at that, it's very close to our bedtime. We'll probably only go a couple more minutes in this stream, just because the cutoff is usually 10 and technically still got some more stuff to do tonight. So thank you so much for those of you guys continuing to pop in. If you have to leave now, totally understandable, but we'll be going just a little bit longer. Try to get some of this sanded. It's the nervous part, getting the front of this and hoping there's no holes here, because this is really what I'm worried about, if there's holes in the front or in the top. I don't know how to say this. I guess this is the front of the skirt. But so far so good. I don't really see any in the front, but we have all this area to cover still, so let me get another Q-tip too. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll be able to get all of this sanded out, at least most of it. Pleasantly surprised. There's a lot less than I thought there would be. I'll have to do all this over the weekend and I'll let you guys know how it went. Maybe we all just got lucky here and didn't have to see anything. Yeah, really not seeing any there too. I wonder if I should just wipe it. Yeah, nothing at all. Okay. If you thin it and wipe it, some of it will still pop in the holes, so this is the quick and like dirty way of checking. But yeah, I don't see any at all in these on these frills, so that's a good thing. I know I keep saying it's a good thing, but it really is, because the Bondo takes so long. Let's see. That looked like minor concern. Let's see there. Yeah, so this looked like a minor area. So I'm just gonna round that out. Okay, I know for sure there's probably some along here, so we'll see if I'm wrong or not. Can hold it up a bit more. Whoa, camera's being funky now. Come on, let's focus. There we go. What I will also have to do is get these skirt pieces to kind of fit a little more flushly, because we were having some very minor issues with the connection. Looks like I got most of it. Mainly what I was talking about is the connection here, and so at one point one of these sides, so like the area where the dress connects to the frills, it was a little bit higher, and so you had this really weird kind of offset, and it didn't look like the dresses were aligned, but I think I corrected most of that, so I'll take one more look later. Okay, I think after this seam line I'm pretty much tuckered out, so I'll sand down the front on my own. And I also need to cut some more 800 grit, so I don't have any more on my desk right here. Oh, there's a couple. Yep. Let's get this side filled. Very faint. There's really not too much going on here, but it is in that area that was kind of oddly shaped. You may be able to see this discoloration here. Oh gosh, it's so thin. What I see in real life looks a lot worse than what you guys are seeing on camera, because to me this is like glaring, but it doesn't show up very well. Okay, let's get this one top, and then I swear I'm done. Oh, there was a couple stuff there too, though. Just minor level nicks. So, just a few very tiny dots. Honestly, camera can't even focus on them. Let's see if I can do that. Like right here, where I'm poking. That's kind of the level of surface scratch we're dealing with. So, not too bad. A lot less than I thought. But I'm gonna cut this off here and wrap up the sanding of this on my own. So, we're pretty much done with all of the sanding as far as I can tell. We've also pinned the kit, so that's great. And so the next step will be priming. So next stream will be on next Tuesday, the 18th, and we will have a kind of shifted setup here. So we'll be filming inside of my airbrush booth, and we'll be spraying some nice white primer. So I've got this Tamiya liquid surface primer. We will be going to town with that and getting all those pieces all nice and coated. We'll see how long it takes. And go from there. I was trying to think of something else, but that's kind of all we got going next. So hope you guys can make it. Thank you so much for continuing to support me, and I would like to see you all soon. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great, Jen. Post it on your Instagram or your story or something, because I'd like to try to make it if I can. My weekends tend to get kind of busy, so hopefully I can make it. But let me know how it goes if I don't catch it. The rest of you guys, I hope you all have a great night, and yeah, bye-bye.